What's going on, guys? It's me, Airliner fan HC here, and today I have another trip announcement for you all. I'm super excited to get into today's video as we got a very exciting trip that's going to be happening next week. Yes, I should have uploaded this a week before, but hey, I just had a recent trip to Seattle for family reasons, so this is actually going to be uploaded on Friday instead. So here it is. So as you see by the title, today I'm going to be announcing my Airliners International 2025 trip. Of course, you have probably seen all the previous videos I did for Airliners International, from the newsletter to the announcement that I'll be going. But here is the trip announcement, which is basically what my plan is for this trip. So super excited to talk about this. And let's go over the background information about this trip. So you actually don't need to know much, because of course, I attended Airliners International already. I know what's going to be happening. Well, not really for this year's show, but for the previous shows I attended, from Dallas to Kansas City, all the get-goes of Airliners International, from the tours, ballrooms, collecting, and everything. So, of course, I'm going to be having fun. I've attended Airliners International since the 2023 convention in Dallas, and this marks my third year of attending Airliners, and I'm just super excited. So, with that being said, yeah, that's kind of like pretty much what you know much about the background. So it's just a short description, no need to explain more. You probably know what Airliners International is, but for some of you who don't know, then you can watch some of the videos that are out there online. So it talks about what Airliners International is, what's going to be happening at this year's show, and all that stuff. So now that's done, let's look at the slide, well, the next slide in this case, which is going to be the trip plan. So I'll be flying from Sacramento International Airport to Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. And of course, since Airliners International is the 25th to the 28th, the trip will start on the 24th and it'll last on the 29th. And excuse on what I did with this U on June 29th. I did not meant to keep that U capitalized, but hey, that's me like typing really fast. Like sometimes I do need to, hang on, let me fix that. Give it a moment, guys, but Google's kind of like acting up a bit in this slide. Anyway, so, not again. Okay, well, I'll just gotta leave it like that. But anyways, yeah, I did not mean to like keep the U capitalized, but that's what happens when I type fast and I kind of like forget. But yeah, that's on me. But I'll be staying, all the previous Airliners conventions, I'll be staying there, except for Dallas, but from last year's show in Kansas City, I'll be staying there for 5 days and 4 nights. And it's actually going to be in a different hotel. That will be on the video on what my plan is for Airliners International, so that video is going to be coming up. But to give you guys, if you're curious on if I'll be staying in the Renaissance or not, I'll actually not be staying in the Renaissance, and you're gonna have to find that out on the what my plan is for Airliners International 2025 video. That's gonna be coming the day of this trip, to be exact, or of course, the day before the airlines convention, obviously. But yeah, that's gonna be the trip right there. That's the trip plan. Now let's go over the flights. So super excited for these flights. Majority of them are Delta Airlines, but there's actually one American, and I'm going to be talking about that later on down the road. But let's get started with the Delta flight. So here is the first flight for this trip, which will be on June 24th. I'll be flying Delta Airlines on board their Boeing 737-900ER. I'll be flying it will be a direct flight and a red-eye flight from Sacramento International Airport to ATL, Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson, the world's busiest airport. Flight number for that flight is Delta Flight 769. That rings a bell right there. The flight time will be 4 hours. Well, I'll talk about the additional note in a moment, but the flight time will be 4 hours and 29 minutes. Again, this will be a red-eye flight, so I'll be leaving Sacramento in the late evening, but I'll be arriving in Atlanta early in the morning. Time of departure is 10:30 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Time of arrival is 5:59 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on the 25th. I'll be seated at C12F at Comfort Plus. And as you see by the additional notes, I actually did took this flight before. And the previous flight I took in that flight was on June 25th of 2024 when I went to Kansas City. So this will be the second time I'll actually be flying this flight number, which is shocking, I gotta say. I was not expecting to fly this exact same flight number as compared as last year's flight I did going to Kansas City. But since the convention is in Atlanta and I'll be arriving there early in the morning, why not do it? So there's that. That's the Delta flight from 2024. And I'm just super excited for that flight in particular. It's really nice to fly on Delta 739s, especially when you're seated right in front of the CFM56 engine on Comfort Plus. I think recently I've started to like Delta Airlines' Comfort Plus. Like, I did Comfort Plus under 752, AC20, and now I'm going to be doing it under 739, which is going to be exciting, I gotta say. So, yeah, I can't wait to hear those amazing CFM56 engines when I'm seated at C12F. Now, I've arrived at Atlanta. What's my plan for basically when I'm in Atlanta in general? So, these are the bullet points. I don't have much bullet points, but to be exact, like obviously, plane spot in Atlanta, which is kind of like one of the main goals whenever I visit a new airport. Well, this is not really the first time I've been to Atlanta Hartsfield, as the first time was last year. This will be my second time, but this will be my first time staying in the Atlanta area and ATL for pretty much longer than, like, I gotta say, my layover from last year. But I'm just super excited to do all the plane spotting action there. There's a lot of really good plane spotting locations at ATL, especially for some parts of the Kingston Hotel. There's like an observation deck that you can do some plane spotting so you can catch some arrivals. But there's also some plane spotting locations that are also famous in ATL. Yeah, really fun stuff. Well, I forgot to mention the bullet point about going to the Delta Flight Museum. Well, that's actually going to be coming soon coming in the next slide. But yeah, one of my main goals when I'm in Atlanta is to plane spot at ATL Airport and do a lot of things here at the Atlanta Hartsfield Jackson International. The other bullet point is kind of more outside aviation, which basically similar to Kansas City. Whenever I feel there's like a free day for me, I would basically go to downtown Atlanta to see all the attractions they have. So say for instance, you got the Georgia Aquarium, you got the Centennial Olympic Park, which is the kind of like I think Centennial Olympic Park is the park where ATL became like the host city for the 100 Olympic Games. But yeah, I think I might be correct on that one. But yeah, those are like the outside things, outside aviation. Mainly I would do that on a Sunday before my flight going to like a different location. Before my departure flight out of Atlanta, basically. I did that similarly to Kansas. Like, I did something similar while I was at Kansas City. Like, after the convention, I ended up exploring downtown for a bit. Kind of like look around, just see because like I also went to a marketplace. And then I just strolled around downtown for a bit before I head back to Sacramento via layover in Salt Lake City with Delta. So yeah, that's kind of like something similar in a way, but hopefully it goes according to plan. Of course, going back to Atlanta, it's gonna be the TSA lines. It's gonna be quite a challenge, I gotta say. But I will say though, the website will actually keep track on the wait times for TSA, so that can be helpful. So yeah, so that's technically my plans while I'm at Atlanta, Georgia. But what is my plan while I'm at Airlines International? That's the thing. That's what I'm here for mainly. Airlines International in ATL, the 48th annual convention. And yeah, I got a bunch of bullet points. So, of course, with me being at an airlines convention, I get to meet with new and well-known Ape Geeks. Of course, you got Connor McCauley or CM Aviation, there's JJ, and then all my previous friends that I've seen throughout this convention from Kansas City, and meeting some new ones. Like, there might be some newcomers for this convention, or they might be their first time series, they might be their second times. It's gonna be really awesome to meet with current and new Ape Geeks while I'm at this convention. Excuse me. I don't want to get a sip of water real fast, so let me just do that real sec. Let me just do that for a few seconds. Because I know we've been like 9 minutes into this video, and I do need to get a sip of water. Anyways, next bullet point is attend the seminars. Now, I only have one seminar in particular I do want to attend, which is Connor McCauley's seminar. That's going to be happening on Friday at 12 p.m. at the Spirit of Delta 767-200. And yeah, it's really nice that Connor has a seminar. Of course, he's been he's been he knows so much about WAS and all the Airlines International stuff. So it's really awesome that he has his own seminar on Friday. So looking forward to attending that. Not sure about the other seminars, like there's Joe Crawford, there's like a seminar that talks about World Airline Historical Society, there's like a seminar that talks about the ATL airport history. There's a lot of seminars that you can attend, and it's not just in one area, like the theater. As mentioned before, there also be seminars on the Spirit of Delta 762. So that's really nice on how there's more seminars, yet there's two different locations where the seminars are going to be held, and it's free of cost, so no need to pay, which is awesome. Next bullet point, and I've been doing this recently, like, of course, I did this in Kansas City, but make sure to I should budget my spendings, which basically means, like, don't, like, overspend on how much you're gonna get. Usually, whenever I do that, like, here's how my plan goes. So, on day one, I don't want to spend too much. Day two, kind of spend a little bit, try to get something, but yet again, like, don't spend too much. And then day three, since it's discount day, I ended up going all in on the discounts. Get as many models as I can, so yeah, so I can do a mass unboxing, of course. Now, I gosh, I still can remember. I still remember the first time I was at Airliners. I made a terrible mistake while I was in Dallas. I spent so much money on day one, and yeah, after that, I bought a little bit in day two. Oops, something happened on my Apple Watch. Let me fix that. But then on day three, I ended up spending less because my wallet was really exhausted. But thankfully, I did improve on the Kansas City convention, where I only spent like a less amount of money and got 3 miles on day one. I ended up getting a few miles on day two, and then day three is where I went all in. So that's kind of like the thing I do want to like also do for this convention. I think it's a better approach on how I budget my money, which yeah, it's getting, hopefully this one's a lot better. I mean, yes, I might get some models on day one, but yet again, I don't want to like, get as many models on day one as compared to what happened in Dallas. But hey, I mean, like, it's what it is, and yeah, just gotta learn from my mistakes. So thankfully thankfully that, like, I mean, I'm just thankful that I was able to do much more better while I was in Kansas City. But hopefully that can be the same for Atlanta. And of course, another bullet point that I'm also excited for is attending the tours. Now, Airliners International has tours. I was fortunate enough to be one of the lucky persons to be selected on one of the lottery slots from Airliners. But as for the rest, it's quite questionable because apparently, for some reason, I tried booking the tours, but the transactions won't let me go through. So I don't know what the deal is right there. But all I know, I think they confirmed that I'm actually selected on one of the lottery tours. And I'll talk about that on the what my plan is, on the plan video for Airlines 2025 that'll be published next week. But for the meantime, I think I do want to like go over like this bullet point. Of course, I know I've been like spending on, like, I've been on the screen for I don't know how many minutes for now. The other bullet point I will say is spend time with friends. Like, that's basically just a simple thing. Spend time with friends, have some fun, make some references. Speaking of that, that's on the last bullet point right there. Make a ton of references. Who knows what references we're going to be making at Airlines International. We're still going to be having fun, having a good laugh, having all like this, all talking about aviation and all that stuff and everything. And yeah, we'll see what references that are gonna be occurring at this year's convention. Hopefully for new ones though, because like last year's conventions, there were like really really good references last year. But we'll see if we get some better ones at this year's convention. So looking forward to that. So once this convention is done, it's Sunday the 29th. I pretty much like hopefully explored pretty much of what I'm going to on the previous slide right here. Is, of course, Georgia Aquarium, Centennial Olympic Park. If everything of that goes according to plan, I return to ATL. I'll be flying back to Sacramento, but I am not gonna fly directly back to Sacramento. Nope, that's not the case. As for this next flight right here, I really got a good itinerary on this. So, for my second flight on the 29th of June, I'll be flying Delta Airlines once again, but under Boeing 717, and that flight will be from Atlanta Hartsfield Jackson. There's like a truck that's kind of like passing by, but that flight route will be from Atlanta Hartsfield Jackson International Airport to Charlotte Douglas International Airport. The flight number will be Delta Flight 3062. Flight time is 1 hour and 14 minutes. Time of departure is 12:46 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Time of arrival is 2 o'clock p.m. at, again, Eastern Daylight Time. And I'll be seated at C26A in the main cabin. Super excited about this flight. This will be my first Delta 717 flight, but not technically my first 717 quote-unquote flight. Like, this is not my first 717 flight, as I did flew on a Hawaiian Airlines 717 back in August 2021. But this will be my first time flying a Delta 717, which, at this point, I pretty much flown all of the airlines that operate the 717, excluding Qantas, since they retired those last year. So it's awesome to finally be able to fly on all of the 717 operators. So that's really awesome. I wish I added that as a bullet point, but hey, I decided to go for the first Delta 717 flight because the Mad Pup is pretty much like the close resemblance of the ND-80. Of course, this aircraft was previously named the ND-95 before Boeing bought this aircraft and renamed it to the 717. But it's still awesome to be able to fly on these kinds of aircrafts, these T-tail aircrafts, because these are really legendary planes. And given the fact that I'll be seated at 26A, I'll be like enjoying those engines right there. I forgot what those engines are called, but all I know they're partners with Rolls-Royce. Not Rolls-Royce, BMW. So it's like a Rolls-Royce engine. I think it's RB7. I don't really know. But it's those engines that are operated on the 717, and the engines once they're at a full thrust, those engine sounds are really, really amazing. So I'm super excited to hear that when I depart out of Atlanta. And this will be my first time at Charlotte Douglas International Airport, which is going to be really cool. It's going to be a new airport. This will be my first time at the Carolinas. I always been thinking of like going to the Carolinas for quite a long time. I mean, I was thinking about that since I was like in elementary school. But this will be my first time being in the Carolinas, starting off with North Carolina. So super excited about that. Once again, first time in Charlotte Douglas, and it's going to be a really, really interesting airport. It's a major American Airlines hub, and I'm looking forward to see what it's like out there. So that takes me to this next slide, which will be my layover at Charlotte Douglas International Airport, KCLT or CLT. The duration of this layover is 5 hours and 10 minutes. And what is my plan there? Well, as you can see at the bottom right corner, I'm sorry. These are my plans. So one of the famous aviation museums that's within CLT, that's what I meant to say, is the Sullenberger Aviation Museum, and that houses U.S. Airways Flight 1542, the exact aircraft that had that famous Miracle in the Hudson. So, of course, I was actually alive during this time, so it will actually be really cool to actually see the actual plane that had that landing in person. So it's gonna be a really nice experience. I think they redesigned everything like last year or maybe 2 years ago. So, but they just recently redeveloped the interior of the museum. So I'm looking forward to see all the various like artifacts, especially for that U.S. Airways A320. But they also got some fighter planes that Sully flew in the past, because I think he was a naval officer too. So that's my plan when I'm at CLT. But one of the other things, of course, since whenever I visit a new airport, I always like to do some plane spotting. So that's bullet point number 2, CLT plane spotting. And most likely I'll be plane spotting at the new viewing area that opened up last year. So that's gonna be really cool. I hope like there's like it's the right time where arrivals are coming in. Like I don't know where, but I don't know really too much about CLT's operations since this will be my first time going to this airport. So again, the only thing I know about CLT is it is a major American Airlines hub in the East Coast. And yeah, like the airport infrastructure is really interesting, and hopefully I can connect all to like the various like areas of the terminal for my flight back to Sacramento. And speaking of which, we're going into that slide right now. So this will be my flight back to Sacramento. This will be the third flight for this trip. On the same day, June 29th, I'll be flying American Airlines under Airbus A321. Flight route will be from CLT to SMF, going from East Coast to West Coast. Flight number is American Airlines Flight AAL 2508. Flight time is 5 hours and 9 minutes. Time of departure is 7:10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and I'll be arriving at Sacramento at 9:19 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. I'll be seated at 2028F in the main cabin, and kind of like additional notes, nothing too much. There's no additional notes to talk about right here. Since I've flown American Airlines, this will be my third time flying American Airlines, and yeah, so nothing too much to go over other than me flying American Airlines going back to Sacramento. So I'll be flying 2 airlines for this trip, which is something I never do. This could be like the first time in my airliners journey that I'll be flying with 2 different airlines, because the previous flights I did were, well, for Dallas I did all American Airlines, and for Kansas City I did all Delta. So this will be my first time I'll be flying with 2 different airlines, going to Airlines International. So this is going to be really interesting. Of course, with American Airlines, they are a really interesting airline out of the big 3. They're not really as competitive as like Delta and United, but American Airlines is still a good airline, and I'm looking forward to flying with them again. So that's pretty much summarizes this trip. But what are my hopes for this trip? Well, as you can see by these bullet points, I'm hoping for sunny weather for most of my stay. I mean, I recently just checked the weather. I think ATL is kind of like having some like thunderstorm, like kind of like overcast sometimes, and like maybe some thunderstorms. I hope we don't get thunderstorms, because like during this time ATL has some really interesting weather phenomenons during the summertime. But yeah, that's what I'm hoping for, is mostly summer weather during my stay here in ATL. Bullet point number 2, no unexpected events. So apparently in Kansas City, there's like unexpected events that weren't really planned out or anything. There are a couple of things I can think of. One of them is the plane spotting meetup in Kansas City, which apparently we got kicked out because the spotting meetup wasn't really organized really well, and I don't think they got CLT receive an email from not CLT, MCI, Kansas City International Airport, did not receive an email that in regards to this meetup, so it wasn't all planned out or anything. In addition to that, I heard some complaints from many guests that the rooms weren't really that good in a sort of way, which is quite unfortunate. And in addition to that, the bus transportation for the barbecue, it wasn't really planned out, and they only just did one bus, which it's unfortunate. And Chris Limmer, I know you were so mad at this, but yeah, I recorded Chris Limmer's reaction to that bus situation, and yeah, I can really tell that he was really angry on the whole situation. So again, unfortunate events happen, but we can come up with solutions, which is a good thing. Third bullet point I do want to talk about is no last minute plans. So I think no last minute plans is like plans similar to like the bus situation in Kansas City during the barbecue. There was like one bus, and apparently like no other like people, there were no other buses to take everyone, so we ended up going on cars. Hopefully that's not the case for Atlanta. I hope everything is all organized and well planned, and yeah, just hopefully that happens for all the WAS team and the Airliners team too. Now for my fourth bullet point is, of course, like kind of like the thing I would always like to do when I go to Airlines International, interact with a lot of attendees. So from the vendor tables to the pilots to famous vloggers to every single aviation enthusiast I come across with. It's really nice to interact with them, kind of like share my experience with aviation to others, and kind of like spreading the word, to be exact. So it's really nice to do that. And for the final bullet point for this slide is to have a great time. Do everything everything you wish, do everything when you're in Atlanta. Don't spend too much though. As mentioned before, you gotta control your spendings, but in terms of everything else, just have fun. Go talk with aviation enthusiasts, do some plane spotting, do a lot of things, attend the tours. Trust me, you are gonna have a great time in Atlanta if ever you're going. And yeah, super excited to also do that as well when I go to ATL next week. And as for the final slide, well, that's basically it for the slides, or just the slideshow in general. But the final slide will be on the next slide right here. So this is the final slide right there. So as you can see, these are all the playlists that I came across. Well, these are all the playlists in regards to Airlines International. So you have my playlist of Airlines International videos right there. So as you can see, I posted my All You Need to Know video 10 months ago. I also did a couple of newsletters and shorts. And then you can also check out JJ Aviation's Airliners International 2025 community content as well. As you can see, you got some videos from CM Aviation, Connor McCauley's. I also have my videos in there too, along with some other aviation enthusiasts as well. So I would highly recommend checking out those playlists so you can see all the various playlists that talks about Airliners International 2025, especially for the community content playlist. So because it also features other aviation enthusiasts as well. So I would highly recommend checking out those playlists. And yeah, that's it for today's video. So overall, I'm just super excited for this trip. Third time in a row, I'll be attending Airlines International 2025, and I'm super excited for next year's convention, which will be in Denver, Colorado. We haven't got much information yet on next year's convention in Denver, nor I have not seen their logo, but I'd assume they're going to be publishing or revealing the logo for Airlines International 2026 in Denver, Colorado during the ATL convention. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll probably go into the All You Need to Know video about Airlines International 2026 later down the road after ATL, but most likely the main focus for this video or this month is the one in Atlanta. So I'm super excited for that. Once again, Airliners International 2025 will be on June 25th to the 28th of 2025. 25th is mostly an all-tour day. 26th to the 28th will be the ballroom day. So I would highly recommend. I know there might be some last-minute plans, but yeah, I think for all the attendees that are going to be attending Airlines International 2025, I'm super excited to see you there. I know you guys are excited as I am, because this is going to be it's a very fun summer event, and yeah, it's going to be really fun talking with aviation enthusiasts, young and old, and overall, I'm just going to have a blast at ATL, and I'm looking forward to this year's convention at Airlines International 2025 in Atlanta, Georgia. So, super excited to see you guys there, and I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to interact with you all. So, looking forward to this year's convention in ATL, as that's going to be happening next week. So, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and turn on the bell icon so you won't miss a new upload from me anytime soon. So, well, before I say all my outro lines, but make sure to check out all of the Airlines International playlists I mentioned before. So that's my playlist right there, all my playlists that talks about Airlines International, all my videos that talks about Airlines International, and then you can also check out the community content playlist as well. So I would highly recommend checking out those playlists. So that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Good night.